Hi everyone, I know you've been anxiously waiting to see what our new project would be, and this is it. It is our gear, and take a quick look at this. It's going to have 16 teeth. It is going to be 80 millimeters in diameter with a center hub of 20 millimeters. So we're going to create this and going to go step by step through. So I want to show you what our final project would look like. We're going to add some text to it as well. So this is something new. You haven't been able to use curved text before. So first off, let's get a new project up here. So we get up a new design. And again, first thing you want to do is make sure that you rename it. So we're going to call this challenge number 5, and we're going to call it Gear Up Tutorial. Now, you're going to name it challenge number 5 and your name. You don't need to put in Gear Up Tutorial since you're not making a tutorial. You're just making the gear. So let's get started. We're going to grab a tube to get started. So let's place the tube out. And we want to make this 80 by 80. So the easiest way to do that is to hold down the shift key, grab a handle here, pull it out, and then just click on one of these and type in 80, and you'll notice both of them turn to 80. Let's move that over a little bit. Now we need to get the height down. So let's bring the height down to 4, since that'll make it easy to print, and it'll make it just about the same size as our keychains. There we go. So we have the outer ring of what we want this to look like, but it's kind of choppy. So we're going to increase the number of sides up to 60, and we're going to leave the bevel alone. We don't want it to round on the edges at all. We want this to be fairly sharp. And we're going to leave the radius and the wall thickness alone. Everything there looks pretty good. So our next step is we're going to bring out a cylinder. Drop the cylinder in the middle. We're going to increase the size of that cylinder. So we want to have about a 10 millimeter space in between here. So right now we're at 10 millimeters. We were 80 minus 10 and minus 10 on this side. So that's 80 minus 20. So let's move this out and let's make this 40. And then we're going to align this so they're both in the center. Remember, our align tool is a really cool tool. It lets us put things in perfect alignment to each other. So that's where we're going to start with that. We want to, again, click off of that, click on this. We want to increase the number of sides to 60. No bevel, no segments. We do need to change the height. Let's bring the height down to 4. So now we have 2 pieces. We have the space around here, and we have a solid inner ring. Now we need to build the teeth, and the teeth are going to take a little bit of time. So we're going to do that with a box. Let's take a box out, put it down here at the bottom. And we're going to change this. Now remember, we were 80 centimeters to the outside of this ring. We want our teeth to stick out a little bit. So 80 plus, let's say, 7 inches for, or 7 millimeters for each tooth. So 1 tooth on this side, 1 tooth on this side, 80 plus 14. We need to make this 94. Let's get that up there so we can see everything. So we want our length to be 94 millimeters. And then we're going to make our width 4 millimeters. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it 6 millimeters. And then we're going to make our height 4 millimeters. So now we have a pretty simple tooth, but those teeth, when they stick out, they're going to be kind of square, and we don't want that. If you remember from our previous, our example, they have a little piece kind of like chopped off of it. So we're going to zoom in like this. We're going to grab a hole box, and we're going to change the size down to 5 by 5. So we're going to hold down our shift key.
Miss Fitzgerald's homeroom, please go to the pack for your pictures. Miss Fitz.
Miss Fitz, make sure you take your homeroom down there. So right now we're at 10 by 10, so let's hold down our shift key, get it down to 5 by 5. And that's good. Now, we don't need to really do anything with this other than turn it. We need to get it to about 22.5 degrees. So if we go to this inner one, that'll go in steps of 22.5. So we're going to go one step of 22.5. And let's take a look at that. How did that end up looking like that? That looks kind of funky, doesn't it? Let's see it from the top. I think we're going to go back and take a look at this from the top. Okay, let's try this again. We want to make sure that we're on the inside. That's a little bit better. Now, somehow I grabbed the wrong piece. Now what we want to do is bring this over, and we need to look at it from the top, so we're getting just the tooth. So we want it where this edge just touches, so we can change our snap grid to 0.25, and that'll let us just align it the way we want to. Now that we have one of these done, we're going to go ahead and click on it and do Control C, and then Control V. Bring that one over, line it up, and then we're going to turn this one. I must be grabbing the wrong, no, I'm grabbing the right one. And bring that in to where it just touches. So remember, you can pan this by holding down your scroll button. So we need to bring this in a little bit and make sure it's lined up. Let's get our settings even smaller. We can go to 0.1 millimeter. That's good there. That's perfect. Okay. So right now we have one side of this done. Now we're going to do the other side. So first things first, we need to pan over a little bit. We're going to click on this, and do Control C, Control V, and then we're going to grab that and pull that all the way down here. Hand this over, and then we need to move this and go to the inside and move it to that angle, and then just let's slide this up here like this. That looks pretty good. Yep. Okay, now let's do another Control C and Control V. Bring this one across and go to the inside ring sure we get them aligned. So to me, that looks pretty good right now. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look to create this as a group. So there's two ways we can do this. We can do the lasso, which is the easiest, or we could select, hold down the shift key, and select everything else. This is kind of the slow way, but it will tell you up here you have 5 shapes selected. Since we have 4 holes and the solid piece, we're going to group that together, and now we have a long tooth. I'll tell you why I did this as one long tooth. Kind of makes it easier for us to align them. So now we're just going to slide this up here a little bit and grab all of them with our lasso, align them so we get our alignment right in the center. Click off of that, and then we just want to grab the tooth. And here we're going to duplicate. So we're going to duplicate this, and then we want to turn it. So we're going to turn it 22.5 degrees. You see that 22.5 started right there. Now here's the fun part. All I have to do is continue to hit duplicate, and it will add in the rest of my teeth. Now the reason I went with a solid cylinder here is to give us a nice base to where we're going to get started from. Now we're going to do one last step on this. We're going to come over here and drag out a cylinder that's a hole already. We're going to go ahead and grab everything and align it all. So that cylinder is now right in the middle. And if we look at that cylinder is 20 by 20, which is the size we want for our center hub. So at this point, let's just lasso everything, turn it into a group, and we've got our wheel. We've got our basic gear. Now here comes the fun part. We're going to go up to basic shapes because we want to add the text, and we're going to go to shape generators. You guys haven't used this one before, but in shape generators, come on, it'll come up. I know it will. There we go. We have curved text. So we don't want to just drag this out and set it out there because it's going to be on the bottom work plane. So let's put it right there. Let's take out a new work plane and set it on the top of the gear. Grab our text, drop it out there, and I like that color. So now what we have to do is fit this right onto our curve, and this has some nice features for us. So our arc is 180, and we can leave our arc at 180.
Mrs. Carey's homeroom, please walk to the pack to have your picture taken.
Mrs. Carey's homeroom?
Don't forget to bring your picture envelopes.
Don't forget the picture envelopes. We're going to change the radius here to 30. And then we're just going to slide that over. Oh, I just grabbed the wrong thing. So let's go back, and we'll grab it over here. There we go. Okay. So 30 is a little bit too small, so we're going to make it a little bit bigger. So let's make this 31 and see what happens. That's a little bit better. Let's increase the size of the text a little bit. There we go. Oh, whoa, that's way too big. Let's get it to right around 22, I think will be good. Now we want to get a good top view of this. so we can see how we can align this. I think we need to increase our radius a little bit more. Let's try 32. And then let's play with moving the text around so we can get it kind of centered on here. So that doesn't look too bad. Now I'm going to take the height and I'm going to change the height to 3. Remember my snap grid's at 0.1, so I'm going to change my snap grid back to 0.5. I'm pretty happy with the placement, except I want to sink this in so it ends up being inside of the gear. So we're going to go down 1.5. So remember our snap grid's at 0.5, and we can go by 0.5 increments. So we now want to turn those text letters into a hole. And while that happens, we're going to click and go back to the home button there. Remember, our home button is over here, so we can get this quick look back where we want. We're going to drop out a grid again, because we don't need that. Now let's group this all together. And we have our text in there. Now we can ungroup that and then change our text, which I forgot to do. So let's change our text. So you should put on here something like your name. Ooh. Now that should work. Let's go ahead and close that, zoom out, and then we'll need to group this again. So if you put your name and then Ty, where did my shape go? There it is. Yay, look at that. So I could have aligned this a little bit better to get better spacing on side to side, but you get the idea of what this should look like. And we're all done. So when you're done with this, remember, you go to Export, create your STL file, and then submit that in for your grading. Have a great time doing this. I had a lot of fun doing it myself. Bye now.